What a beautiful day. Gorgeous day. It's nice and cool in the shade. Blue sky, little puffy clouds floating around. Kids playing in the playground. I just had to be outside by the trees and just feel the little breeze coming. Just takes me back, when I was growing up and spent a lot of time in the woods and wooded areas, a lot of green. Green makes me think of my school days because that was our school color. Green and white. Talking about Coach. Coach Nagel was his name. So my cross country coach also coached us in track growing up. What a terrific team to be a part of. You know, it's meant so much to me, and maybe you have yours from your high school days. But it's so dear to me, I kept it. Thankfully, it still fits. And I just was really encouraged at that moment in my life when I was a quiet, shy kid growing up in a very busy school where, there's the popular kids, there's the jock kids that were actually good in sports. There was the eggheads like my brothers, I should say, and smart people where it seems to come easy to them. I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I think he graduated third, so it must have been somewhat easy. All right. But anyhow, so many of us are so blessed to have a coach in our lives that take their extra time when they could be doing something else after, because my father was a high school teacher, and I know sometimes he was up till 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes grading papers. But figure if you're also a coach, other than a teacher, you're taking your extra time after class, after school, extra hours to pour into these young people the lessons that you've learned, maybe how to be tough, more resilient, part of a team, to think outside of themselves, to not just think about what's good for them or what they feel like doing that day, but to stay focused on a goal, you know? Boy, I remember this one time, it was considered Nagel's Army is what it was known as. You're part of Nagel's Army because he was tough. And if you had a tough coach, you know that you're surely blessed as long as, I mean, usually when you're about 10 years out of school, you figure that out, right? Because you realize the lessons they taught you weren't just about running up a hill or how to beat the other team. That's part of life. It can carry you through lots of hills and valleys like we had on our course. You know, we had 3 hills that made up most of the course that we had, and he named them. Misery, it's this big, long hill, right? Come down, way downhill. That was the nice part, was downhill. But then you got to come to Agony. Agony was a very steep hill. And sometimes during practice, he was known, and I had seen him a couple times, would climb up the trees, have a pocket full of rocks. And sometimes if you started walking up that hill, you would hear him shout out, "You knuckleheads, get up those hills!" And he would be pelting you with some small rocks. Stuffs coach didn't have to worry about back then getting sued, right? They knew their kids were getting taught by somebody that was tough. He's playful. He had a terrific balance of, you know, personality qualities. Just a terrific guy. The more I think about it, and all the stories I've seen recently shared online about people that he coached over the years and the difference that he made. It's not just in my life, and I was like, wow. So I knew it was probably a lot of people, but it was nice to see the outpouring online recently. But I had one little thing here I wrote down that I just always remembered, where he was teaching us a good lesson about teamwork one day after, he went over the drills, and we went out for an LSD run. Now, if you're thinking of the 1960s with drugs or whatever, it actually stands for something called long, slow distance. I think it was 14 miles. We would run around. We grew up in a lake community, and it would be all through these hills and across the bridge. And we came past this one house that I think he planned on coming to because one of the team members wasn't very happy that day. He decided to mope, and he was sitting on the stoop outside his house. Oh, if you don't know what a stoop is, okay. So this is where you have a house where there's a couple steps outside the front door. This is called a stoop. So Smitty, okay, throwing that out there, or whoever hears this might know who that is. We're sitting on the stoop, and he was upperclassman and was a very good runner, and we needed him to stay as part of the team and not quit and give up. Coach Nagel laid into him, and we came past, and he took it was a painter's cap. Back in the 80s, for a little while, I think everybody was making painter's caps for some reason. It had our logo on there. He took that painter's cap and whacked it on the ground right in front of Smitty. And as he was sitting there smoking his cigarette on a stoop, looking like, what the heck do you want? And he's stomping around. I remember him. I don't think he used any swear words. He might have, but he was just pretty clean. And he said some stuff like, you're giving up on the team, you're letting us down, and it's okay to hear that when you're giving up, when you're feeling like your feelings are hurt sometimes. That's actually okay. That might be a revelation to some people. But my brother is also a coach of soccer for many years. I think maybe he still does. I remember him telling me a story not too long ago about some parents coming up to him wondering where their child's trophy was. And he looked at them somewhat puzzled, but not too surprised because this was something that's been going on, I guess, for a while now. And he delicately explained to them that only the people that win get trophies and get rewards because that's how life is. You can reward somebody for being average, but how does that help them? When somebody's average and you want them to achieve, it's okay. It's probably better to just have a pep talk and help them to learn to have more confidence in themselves. I know that's the big reason I never even got a date all through high school. I couldn't find a girlfriend to save my life because I had no confidence. So little did I know I was learning confidence through cross country and track, running all those miles, hitting those hills. I didn't score very much, on the sheet. You have the first three people end up scoring that cross the finish line from each team. First place, you get 1 point. It's like golf, the lowest score wins. So even as a senior, very rarely did I seem to matter on the team. But you know what? Everybody matters because you're a part of the attitude and you're a part of cheering on the people that maybe are better, that are making the score happen. But it's important for you to be there, even if you're not a scoring member, even if you're like in basketball. I was never a scoring guy. I was a guard, but I had a purpose. It's not always putting the baskets in. It's doing all the other things that are necessary. I mean, that's even in the owner's manual. Not all of us are an eye or a hand, but we're necessary to make everything work together to make that goal happen. Just in case you're a coach or you have a coach, this message goes out to you because Coach Nagel poured his heart out for many, many years to many, many people. And if you're a coach, thank you for that extra time that you put in after school when you could have just gone bowling or sat in front of the TV or doing something else. You were the one that stepped up and said, I'll be the guy that pours my heart into these kids so they can learn some life lessons on the court or on the hills. Or, by the way, the third hill was called Heartbreak, right? Misery, Agony, and Heartbreak. Sound familiar? It's part of life, right? You're going to have some heartbreak. But that was the last long hill before you came across the finish line. Of course, it's changed these days when you go back there, but the lessons haven't. And they've left a lasting imprint. You know, in my freshman year, I was part of this winning team, you know, undefeated. Why were we undefeated? Because we had a coach that kicked our butts, and he wasn't afraid to, you know, revered, highly respected. There he is, Coach Nagel. We also honor his wife. You spouses of coaches, I'm telling you, you're so important. Maybe you've read this in books or heard it somewhere else, but it's so true. Being the support for a coach and allowing them to take the time to pour into these young people, maybe even older people. The talents that you learn on the field, hills, wherever you are, what it takes to not just be the best for you, but be a part of a team that hits a goal that makes an undefeated team or occasion happen, to celebrate together, be a part of that. It's just wonderful. And not to get mad at the coach or tell him he's doing a terrible job. You know, if they need to get, if they're getting out of line or doing something stupid, then, I mean, you're going to know. Just doing the right thing, you know, have some fun, kick some butts, but let your coaches know that you appreciate them. And if they're not around anymore, let their spouse know. Write them a card. You know, we had our 40th high school reunion just a few weeks ago. Wore my jacket. There's about 60 of us there and a few of the teachers. Coach Nagel moved out to California, enjoying his life out there with his family. No winter, no snow to shovel anymore. The East Coast over here. We had him on the big screen. I had kept in touch with him over the years, and it was such a joy for me to see everyone else that hadn't kept in touch with him, that I knew he had made an impact on their lives because we would see each other now and then and talk about just fun memories. And to see them come up one by one and say, "Oh, hey, coach, remember me?" You know, and do you remember this? Do you remember that? Even one of the coaches was their fellow coach, Mike. He was actually the DJ and came up and he was, you know, having a little fun, played some of the music that we played way back then. It was Rapper's Delight, right? That was one of our amazing songs that we love to run to. Had a great beat. Knew all the words. And we had that wonderful time. I had sent him a card just a couple of months earlier just to let him know how important he was in my life and the lessons he taught me that I valued so much. And then just a week later, I got a text that I was really in disbelief about at first. And then I realized I got from another friend the same message. And I couldn't believe it. A week after that reunion, when we were having laughs with him on the big screen, he was gone. And I was so sad. I was pretty upset. But then I was so happy that we had had the time to celebrate him and to let his wife also know, Christine, how much we appreciated the sacrifice that not only he made, but she made. Time away from his own family so he could pour his heart into ours. And if you've got a coach in your life, somebody that you're thankful for, just in case you do, I'm encouraging you today to go get a card and pour out a little piece of your heart, maybe a big piece. Just let them know how much you appreciate them before they're gone. Maybe pick up your phone, give them a call if you can, and just have some laughs and let them know how much you appreciate what they did for you all those hours, all those years after school, coaching, teaching by example. He ran with us. Coach had run his last hill, but I know he's going to be a part of me for as long as I live because the lessons he taught me I hold so dear because I've seen how those lessons have carried me through some difficult times. Thank you for all the coaches out there for pouring your heart into ours and making that difference.